Special guest joining us in the building. It should be a pretty interesting interview that we have coming up next. Now, usually when we have interviews, you don't hear much from Big Hobie Spoon, but I think this one he might get involved because I got none other than Mr. Arjun Jagtiani here with me in the building. Good morning, Arjun. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Super. Good morning, Big Homie Spoons. Good morning, St.Maarten, man. It's great to be here in the studio with you guys.
Yes, good to have you here. Now, usually Arjun is the guy that you go to when it comes to real estate.
That's right.
But this morning we're going to be talking about weed estate.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you see,
right.
you see, I
I
told
like
you.
it already.
Yeah.
Got his interest. So I got to say good morning once again to not only just Arjun Jagtiani, but number one seller,
Amazing.
number one author on Amazon. Arjun Jagtiani is here with us today because we're going to talk about his new book, The Best Weed I Never Smoked, A Rebel's Journey to Success based on a true story. Can't wait to hear about this because I know you for quite some time.
Yeah, man.
And many people know you as well. I think a couple of years ago, many people might remember, I think it was you together with Ras Bushman and some others
Yes.
made a presentation in Parliament
Yes, we did.
talking about the legalization of marijuana.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, in the book, I talk about like what inspired me to go down that path or get involved in this discussion. But yeah, a few years ago, it's almost 10 years ago now.
Was that long?
Yeah, it's 10 years ago. Time flies. Huh?
Wow.
But yeah, Ross Bushman started the Herbal Awareness SXM, of which I was a founding member with him. And we held several public town hall meetings. We did events at Bel Air Community Center. We spoke on various radio stations. We gave a presentation in Parliament. We gave a presentation to COM. So we got the conversation going in a lot of elite circles, all the top circles.
Right.
And, you know, we're expecting that something's going to come out of it. I'm not saying we did everything, but we helped push the
You helped push
conversation.
it, yeah.
we helped push it to the
Right.
to the upper levels.
It was like you said about 10 years ago.
10 years already,
everyone
man.
was a little skeptical, but now you see everyone.
It's all over the world.
It's all over the world.
We saw this coming, right? Like
Yeah.
we were trying to explain, like, yo, this is the new trend that's happening.
Let's jump on it before.
And something I've always said, right? The marijuana industry exists on our island already, right? It's just, do we want to regulate it or not?
Right.
Because people who want to consume it are consuming it on a daily basis, right? So
And people that want to sell it, they find ways to sell it.
right. So it's up to government. Either they let the black market regulate it, or they step in and regulate it and
Start
create,
taxing it.
create some opportunities. Yeah, create opportunities for local entrepreneurs. And for the product to be consumed safely, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that's, I think, the biggest
And
thing
then,
they
and
need
then
to.
in return, it puts money back into our coffers.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, of
Something
course,
which
of
we
course.
desperately need.
Because the product is going to be sold regardless and consumed regardless.
True.
Yeah, by tourists and locals, right? It's happening every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move forward. And you decided to write yourself a book.
Yeah, it took me 12 years to write this book.
12 years.
So this is me stepping out of my comfort zone. It definitely is. It's a side project. It's you know, I've always enjoyed writing. And yeah, I would love to write a book, and I've always wanted to write a book. I've actually done it now. It's still hard to process that.
This is your first book ever.
First book ever, and like I said, it's about 12 years in the making. So what happened in 2009, right? I was on vacation in Miami, and I was in a car. We got pulled over. I had a small bag of weed in my pocket, which was
Right.
given to me just a few minutes
Oh.
before I got in that car. A friend of mine gave that to me.
You were set up. No.
I was set up, man. I was set up. No, and then actually my friend who was driving the car, who had given me that as a gift for the weekend. You know, we ended up spending 18 hours in Dade County Jail. We got pulled over, routine traffic stop. I would say we were racially profiled, but
Right.
that's another conversation.
Right.
3 grams, so we're not talking about large quantity at
Right.
all, right? And we spent 18 hours, Dade County Jail, Miami. Horrible experience, like one of the worst experiences in my life. And I thought that was harsh punishment enough, but really the real consequences come after the fact, right? So
Now, you would think that after an incident like that, you would be like totally against marijuana because, I mean, you never smoked it, you never consumed it at that time, but because of it, you got in trouble.
well, I did consume it in the prior way before that.
Right.
Yeah, we're going back decades.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed it, to be honest. Yeah, I've always enjoyed it. But the consequences from that, like, so the post-jail consequences, and what a lot of people don't know, nobody really realized this, but I had just started Island Real Estate Team. So I had just branched off, just taken a huge step in my professional career.
Right.
Started my own company. And then I had to deal with a lot of, like, I wasn't able to travel to the U.S.
Oh, because of this,
Yeah,
yeah.
because of this. So I went about a 4 or 5 year period.
Ooh.
So I missed out on different conventions, family gatherings, coincidentally like 4 really important weddings to me. Well,
Yeah.
you know, family, friends, and this and that. And then you're like, family don't and close friends. What they realize is, yo, you didn't show up to my wedding.
Yeah.
They don't remember these little details of like,
Yeah.
oh, I couldn't travel to the U.S. They're like, yo, you was never my wedding, man.
Right.
I thought we were boys. I thought we were brothers, man. So it really like caused collateral damage to personal relationships, missed business opportunities, just all kinds of challenges, which I go into in the book.
Yeah.
And really the book is not so much like a cry for legalization. It's more, I would say, more of a motivational book. And more of, I'm trying to convey like what you got to deal with life challenges, right?
Yeah.
Like life challenge, unexpected challenges, things that are you might consider to be unfair are going to happen to you in life, and how do you respond to that?
Right.
So what do you do when life knocks you down? Do you just sit there and become a victim, or do you try to move forward? So I try. The main goal of this book is to kind of share my story and hopefully inspire people. Definitely, the cannabis conversation happens throughout the book. But yeah, it's me stepping out of my comfort zone, right? So like I said, it took me 12 years to write this because I struggled with imposter syndrome, right? Like,
So
can you imagine?
What is that actually, like imposter syndrome?
I'm not a writer. I'm not an author.
Okay.
Right? So I would sit down. I would take time off from work.
Yeah.
Put my phone on silent, and I'm sitting there writing about the war on drugs, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here?
Right.
This is, who cares what I have to say about this, right? Like, I'm not an author. What am I doing? So I really struggled with that.
So you would put it back down and then
yeah, I would go, but you know, I was really like obsessed to write this book. I don't know,
Yeah.
I was possessed, I would say, actually. Like, it was therapeutic.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, I always enjoyed writing. So after I was arrested, came back, dealing with these consequences, I would just journal about it, you know, and that was helpful for me. And then it just started to evolve. Like, there was this voice in my head, like, yo, you got to write a book about this.
Right.
And then the other voice in my head was like, what are you, crazy? You ain't no writer. Get back to work, dude.
Yeah.
Stop procrastinating. Get to work.
And who would be interested in a story like
Yeah,
this?
who wants to hear my story?
Right.
And then, you know, something I've always said to myself, which I think is very important for us to ask ourselves, what would you do if you knew you would not fail? So that question is what kept getting me back on track, right? I would just ask myself that randomly. But sorry, back to where I was saying, like, I was possessed about it. I would literally couldn't sleep. Like, I would be laying in bed thinking about the book, like how it's gonna flow. And then as I started to write it, like I would be in the middle of my sleep, wake up and be like, oh, I gotta add another sentence, a paragraph on this. Like, I was so into it. It was crazy. It was almost unhealthy. I think I was so obsessed with it at a certain point. But I would go through phases where months, all I would want to do is work on the book. And then months, I didn't want to look at it. Even, in some cases, even years, like, I didn't even want to look at it. I was like, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I'll forget that. But yeah, what would you do if you knew you would not fail? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to publish this book.
True.
And there I am 12 years later, publishing it, doing my first interview with you guys here.
Yeah.
First of many interviews. Yeah, so we just came out with the book a month ago.
Yeah.
Official release was on Kindle, and then the print version is available through Amazon right now, only about 10 days. And we hit the #1 spot on 3 different categories on Amazon right now. So it's not #1 bestseller overall, but we've hit, I think, on drug law, on behavioral psychology, and there's another category I forgot.
Wow.
Sorry, but we've hit 3 categories, like subcategories.
So that-
we've hit the #1 spot on those 3 with very little promotion.
So that shows you this book goes really deep based on those categories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, it's not a book like, oh, weed is good, everyone should smoke weed. That's definitely not the message that's being conveyed there.
I mean, it is. I mean, but and it's called The Best Weed I Never Smoked. And I just looked at the sleeve of the book and I realized what Weed I Never Smoked stands for, the acronym. So the best wins.
There you go. Absolutely.
Interesting.
I'm glad you caught on to that. Yeah. So, you know, the best wins in life are the ones where you overcome adversity.
Yeah.
Right. And you go through struggles. And that what this book represents to me is I had to go through a lot of personal mental struggles to actually complete this book. Right. And also throughout, you just see how I overcome different challenges and stuff like that. So yeah, the best wins. I love the way that the book abbreviates to that.
And was that intentional or it just happened?
No, that came together. You know, I was saving one of my drafts and I just said, let me abbreviate it. And
came out that
wait
way.
a minute, that's got a nice ring to it. I'm gonna have to tie that in somewhere. So we put it on the spine of the book. Yeah.
Oh, who did you get to publish?
So I used a self-publishing company based in India, actually.
Oh, okay.
Called Happy Self-Publishing. They've been amazing to work with, and I don't think I would have reached the finish line without them. So again, I had this the first draft of the book. I'll tell you, I completed. I don't remember when did Mayweather fight Pacquiao? That was the day I completed the first draft.
Damn.
That was the day I completed the first draft.
Really?
Yeah, that was the day, and it was 250 pages,
Right.
and probably only about 20% of that made it to the final cut of the book.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was the day that I completed the first draft. And then it's been, a whole process to get it to where it's actually what I think is actually like a good story that, people could read.
Mayweather versus Pacquiao was May 2nd, 2015.
2015. So that's the day I completed the first draft.
Yeah, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so it took me maybe two years or so to get to that point.
Right.
Then it was like, okay, now I have all this, but it's garbage. Right? Like, I went back and read it a couple weeks later. I was like, this is garbage. I don't know. What is this? So anyway, it took a long time to filter it down to where I think it's palatable, entertaining. I want to be entertaining. I want to have some jokes in there. I want to be real. It's a true story. Everything in there is real. That was important to me as well. Yeah.
What about, did you have any editors help you with this as well?
Yeah, so throughout the years, I contracted a few different editors here and there who helped me with certain sections, did a couple little rewrites for me. And then, again, I was really struggling, like, so now I have this manuscript. What do you do from here? How do you get it published? Like, that's complicated. And just searching the internet, I came in contact with this company, Happy Self-Publishing, reached out to them, and they were amazing. Yeah, they really helped me. So they hold your hand and kind of walk you through the process.
Okay.
But something else I want to touch on, I was watching Bill Maher a couple of weeks ago, and I forget who he's interviewing, but somebody else who just came out with a book. And they were both talking about, like, how they have their team of ghostwriters that prepared a book for them. That ain't the case here.
That wasn't you.
This is real sweat and tears. I didn't have no ghostwriters. I had a couple of people help me clean it up. And even, like, the editors from Happy Self-Publishing, like, there were times, like, this might not be, we're in the woke culture, right? They're like, I don't know if you could really say it like this. And I had final decision on that.
Right.
And I didn't take every advice they said, right? So the book is raw. Yeah, and I like that. Yeah. So if you're easily triggered, have very thin skin, maybe it's not a book for you to read.
Okay.
Right. But it's real. It's real. Yeah.
All right.
So
and I see the book. The book consists of 12 chapters. Which chapter would you say is probably the one that is more like dearest to you? I would say.
Oh, that's tough. The whole story is very dear to me. Yeah, I don't think I can pick out one chapter because it all kind of ties into each other.
Right.
Just the last chapter or the conclusion is, why is marijuana legal? So that's not necessarily my personal story. That's where I more give my opinion.
Okay.
And, I tried to research, by the way, is why is marijuana legal? And, there's no clear-cut answer to this. There's so many conspiracies out there. But I was hoping I would find something like, based on this scientific research, this study that was done in, 1900s or whatever. But no, there's nothing like that. On the contrary, in the 1900s, they made it almost impossible to research marijuana. So there's a lot of conspiracies out there. Yeah, so I just kind of touch on some of those in the last chapter. So I would say the last conclusion is probably different. It's a different tone than the rest of the book.
Right.
But the whole thing is dear to me, I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Blood, sweat, and tears in that.
Nice. Arjun Jagtiani here with us this morning, the author of The Best Weed I Never Smoked. Now available on Amazon, like
That's
you mentioned.
correct.
So it's available on Kindle.
Amazon Kindle, and also the print versions are now available on Amazon. I'm hoping to have them on Island soon, and hopefully, I haven't approached the local bookstores as yet, but it's definitely my intention to do so. Remember, this is a side hustle for me.
True.
And I just want to convey that message. I'm working with buyers and sellers of real estate still as my main focus.
Right.
Yeah. So if any of my clients are listening, don't worry, you haven't lost me. I'm here.
Yeah. And don't be surprised in any of the homes or apartments that you check out if there's a copy just lying on the table.
That'd be awesome. I'd be happy to sign it and autograph it if I see it there. For sure. Yeah, definitely want to, now I want to focus on becoming the best-selling author, right? I can say I'm a published author. I hit a #1 spot in a couple categories, but now it's, time to sell the book.
Yeah.
So grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Do you think you'll ever write another book? I mean, it doesn't have to be on this topic, but just another book.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope I can launch a second career as an author, and maybe one day, in the future, where real estate becomes my side hustle and being an author is my full time. That would be, again, what would you do if you knew you would not fail, right? That'd be an amazing thing to accomplish.
Right.
But as I mentioned, I've always enjoyed writing, and now I would look at it. Yeah, definitely. I have tons of ideas for other books, and they're not all weed related. There's one or two that might be, but
okay.
But I have several different ideas, so I would love to spawn another career.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's just 12 chapters. It's about
130 pages, I think.
Pages.
Yeah, easy read. Easy read.
If you don't count the acknowledgments and about the author, it's about 130 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been hearing that a lot lately from authors that write books. They're saying they're getting a lot of great feedback now that books are getting shorter
Okay.
and easier to read. You know, because back then we would have books 300, 400,
Yeah.
500 pages.
Yeah.
And, you know, now they're working on shorter chapters and shorter reads that get to the point, because our attention span these days also
Very
is
short.
very, very short.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
I didn't realize that was like an industry trend.
Right.
But it was definitely a goal of mine when I was doing it, was I just want to make it short and sweet. I want people to be able to read this maybe like on a flight, or, you know, over a weekend.
Right.
Or, you know, I read slow, so it take me a few days, but some people read fast. I've had people breeze through this in a few hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I'm going to go through some of the comments. This was a good read. The story really shows how you can get the best outcome out of the worst situations. That's from someone in the United States. Shopper Girl said, "What a story. This was an easy read. The book shows us that it's important for us to acknowledge our privileges and not take them for granted."
Yeah,
All right.
true.
I don't know if you've ever seen these.
I scroll through some of them, but some of them might be new.
Let's see. The Best Weed I Never Smoked is a compelling and inspiring true story about overcoming obstacles and finding success against all odds. Arun's journey is a testament to resilience and growth, making this book a must-read for anyone seeking motivation and inspiration. Highly
Big up.
recommend picking up a copy. Nice.
Big
So
up,
yeah,
yeah.
you're getting some good reviews, and hopefully,
Yeah. It's been getting good reaction so far.
Yeah.
So I'm humbled, I'm honored, and I'm excited.
Yeah, someone from the UK said this book was a rare find while searching for something to read on my trip to Scotland.
that.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it did not disappoint. A roller coaster of a story that leaves you feeling truly inspired. Nice.
Awesome.
So hopefully I could give my own review. You just brought
Please, I look forward to that,
brought
man.
us a copy as well. We appreciate that. So keep
Give
up
thanks,
the great
man.
work, Arun. Nice.
Thank you guys, man. It's a blessing to be in the studio with you guys, and you guys keep up the great work too,
Yeah.
man. I know you keep the country entertained and informed as well, man.
Absolutely,
So it's a blessing to share a few
Yeah.
moments with you here
So now
today.
we have more to talk about, because usually when we meet up, we talk about real estate. We talk.
I know, right?
We talk about music.
Yeah, man.
But now we can
No
talk
one can
about.
hand you a 10 bag. We talk.
Yeah, there we go. anytime, dog.
All right.
Yeah.
Arjun Jagtiani, thank you again for joining us today on the Super Duper Morning Show. If anyone wants to get your book, all they got to do is go on Amazon, right?
That's correct. Amazon.com. It's there. And hopefully soon it'll be in local bookstores.
That's right. So look out for that as well. All right. Before you leave, you got a question of the day. Facebook.com/today's101. Brought to us by CTC. In what room was your house phone or phones located?
Yeah, so I'll go back to when I was in college, right? I used to roommate with Sanjay that we were talking about.
Uh-huh.
And we had the house phone was in the kitchen.
Okay.
And it was a portable one. We used to fight for that thing, man. Like it's crazy. Like, it's somebody on the phone, like, "Yo, man, I gotta make a call, man.
Yeah,
I got this
man.
chick I'm trying to call, man. What's up?" And anyway,
It's never
yeah.
on the base, right? It's all over.
It's all over there, yeah,
And now
man.
when-
Then you finally get it, it ain't charged.
It ain't charged.
Oh man, kids nowadays have no ideas, boy. They got no idea. Yeah, man. Give thanks, man.
Arun, again, thanks for joining us and keep up
Blessing.
the good work. Let's
Yeah.
take a break. When we come back, got another guest joining us, so don't you go anywhere.